law group in Costa Mesa. Guy was the corporate attorney for the Minuteman Project, and Brad served as a litigation support paralegal while the fate of the Minuteman Project was decided. The struggle for power and control of the Minuteman Project and name gives us lessons about the issues of corporate governance, serving on a board of directors, maintaining a proper perspective, and working through board disputes. If you serve on a nonprofit board of directors or are likely to serve on a board, you will want to listen carefully. And now let me introduce Brad Bailey.
Well, thank you for that introduction. And as was mentioned in the introduction, my brother was the corporate attorney for the Minuteman Project and its successor to the Gilchrist Minuteman Project. I'm going to take a minute and mention Jim Gilchrist because he was the founder of the Minuteman Project movement and the founder and incorporated of Minuteman Project Incorporated. Earlier this year, a court case was, or a number of court cases involving the Minuteman Project were resolved. And I think there were lessons to be learned. In 2005 and 2006, immigration probably is today a very hot topic, and the Jim Gilchrist Minuteman Project really had an opportunity to put forward the message of anti-illegal immigration. His organization grew and raised funds, and Jim became something of a celebrity. Many of you probably know because he is local, seen him on local television, if not on national programs. He appears quite often on Kennedy and other conservative talk shows, co-writing, etc. In 2007, there was a struggle for the control of the organization in which some individuals that were his allies in 2006 tried to take control of the organization and seize control of its fundraising arm and its funds. They made allegations against Mr. Gilchrist. It reported that he raised significant amounts of money and directed those monies into personal ventures and personal accounts and any number of other claims. I think what's most important about the Minuteman Project case in this case was his great insights into some of the methods used when people are trying to gain control over an organization. And I think some of that would be helpful as you consider being on the board. I think it's very important to know who you're inviting to join you on the board, or if you're joining the board, who it is you're joining. It's important to know from the Articles of Incorporation, certificates of amendment to the Articles of Incorporation, and the bylaws, how many board members there are to be on the board, how board members are elected, and how board members can be removed in the case of a board dispute. In the case of the Minuteman Project, Jim Gilchrist grew his organization by inviting people to serve on essentially an advisory board. Jim Gilchrist was the sole director of the Minuteman Project and single board member on a governing board of directors. Wow. Okay? He had created staff positions in his organization. Essentially what they had was weekly staff meetings. These staff meetings, though, he referred to as board meetings. Okay? Had he used simple language, calling it a staff meeting or calling it a round table, he probably wouldn't have faced some of the problems he had. What happened is, in late 2006, early 2007, these individuals started to assert that they were a board of directors, and as such, that they had certain responsibilities to the organization, certain rights to information, and a right to exercise a certain amount of control over the organization. Essentially, they tried to usurp the authority of the organization by saying they were, in fact, the governing board of directors. A simple look at the Articles of Incorporation, which were filed in 2005, named Jim Gilchrist and his wife, Sandy Gilchrist, as the directors. Later that year, it was amended, and Sandy Gilchrist was removed, so that Jim Gilchrist was the sole director. There were no bylaws for the organization. Therefore, there was no mechanism for increasing or decreasing the number of board members. Nevertheless, these individuals filed papers with the Secretary of State in the state of Delaware, saying that they were now the board of directors of Minuteman Project, and not only were the board members, they were now also the officers of Minuteman Project, and Jim Gilchrist had been removed from the organization. Under Delaware law, the only person that could remove Jim Gilchrist from being on the board of directors, and the only changes that would be accepted to the state of Delaware were documents filed by Jim Gilchrist. Okay. However, what they did is they did file documents, they made these changes, and they used these changes to go to the bank, take control of the bank account, they took control of the website, they took control of merchant accounts, which process credit cards and payment gateways that funnel funds. When Mr. Gilchrist learned about this, he immediately hired my brother as an attorney. They ran to court, they filed for a permanent injunction prohibiting them from claiming to be members of Minuteman Project, and furthermore, prohibiting them from spending any monies collected under the name of Minuteman Project. That court order was granted in part, and the part was that they could not spend money, collect money, raise money, or divert monies from the Minuteman Project. Nevertheless, 2 days later, they filed a change of address with the U.S. Postal Service, and they contacted all the payment gateways, and again insisted that all the monies be directed to their local post office box account. The story of it really is a story of just unparalleled greed, an opportunity that presented itself, and they took it to full advantage. This was extremely costly to both Minuteman Project and to Jim Gilchrist personally. The legal fees combined probably were more than $500,000. Okay. Jim Gilchrist was right in 2007 when he fired them. He was in control of the organization, and it still took 3 years to essentially prove that in the process through the courts of law. So, as you consider being on a board of directors, one of the things you want to be sure is there's an accurate record kept of the meetings, what is decided, and by whom. The meetings should be, there's two schools of thought on preparing minutes of meetings. One is to record accurately everything that was said, other is to simply record motions and votes. In either event, motions and votes should be properly recorded and noted. Had that been the case, Jim Gilchrist would not have suffered the financial setbacks that he did personally and as his organization. Thank you.